Okay. Welcome back to video 2. This is Let's Play Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. The experiment that I was trying did not work out. I was attempting to record the uh, web resources for this game, but it's a little more difficult than I thought it would be. So for this first Let's Play, um, I won't I won't show that. I'll just pause the videos at a reasonable time if I need to look at the wiki is what it's called, and the knowledge bots. They're just nice little spoiler environments where you can look up monsters, see how much damage they do, so you can know if something has the possibility of killing you in one hit, for example. So you would want to get away at all costs. You spend a lot of time running away from things in this game. So anyway, I was talking about rough black scales. They're alright. They give you a bunch of armor class by the end. It's plus 10 for the third level, but it also reduces your dexterity. Goes to minus 3 at the third level. And so, it's a trade-off. Our dexterity is not incredibly high as a Demonspawn, and you want a lot of it as a hunter. That's assuming that we stick with the Bose plan. That's not a guaranteed thing. Okay, so for this first level of the dungeon, I'm mostly, unless I run in like a fool, I said I'm mostly going to be meleeing things because arrows, all projectiles, have a chance of breaking when you use them, whether they hit or miss. As you can see, we have 15 arrows remaining from the 20 that we had at the very beginning of the game. But in situations like this, because they do so much more damage than our short sword, we are a hunter after all, not a fighter or a gladiator, or one of the various knights. Our bow is our best source of damage, so you can see there we did lose an arrow, which is really a shame. So most of the time I'm going to be using the short sword, even though it takes a little longer to kill things, just because most of the monsters on level 1 can't kill you. Like, if they're wielding a weapon, there can be some danger. Like, that goblin might be dangerous if that's a good dagger, but usually they have daggers with very poor enhancements, or they're cursed sometimes. So I'm just using the tab key mostly with my little short sword. And if you see me like press that key a few times and it spams the message that there's a monster nearby, that's because I'm just hitting the auto explore key. And it won't let you travel if you can see a monster, so you don't accidentally blunder into it. Crawl lets you, move around quickly without, being bored just all the time, and you don't have to worry about it killing you permanently. It's still not great sometimes, especially on very wide open levels, because you can just run straight into the room instead of hugging the walls and exploring it a little more cautiously. Here we're going to back up so that we know we're only fighting one at a time. I don't want to be taken unawares by that whip. Hunt down that bat. Bats are really annoying to attack if you use the directional keys. They are trivial if you just press tab a bunch, because you follow it. As long as there's nothing else around, tab does not care if there are a bunch of dudes that are surrounding you, or if you're just fighting a single bat at once. So while you can just spam it like this and move really quickly, if there's any chance whatsoever of you running into something incredibly dangerous, don't do that. Because you might, again, run into the middle of a room and suddenly there are 4 centaurs all shooting crossbows at you, and you become very unhappy very quickly. If this is your first time experiencing Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, I hope you enjoy it. It's one of my favorite games. I've been playing it for about 4 years. I just achieved my first ascension, the first win of the game, a couple of months ago. and it was pretty exciting. Okay, so here we have our first big decision, whether to increase strength, intelligence, or dexterity. Um, there are several ways we could go with this. We could put points into strength and go for more of an armored, sort of a tank, pew pew sort of build, um, because strength is mostly used for wearing heavier armor. You need a much higher strength value to overcome the encumbrance rating, which slows you down and can make you miss attacks and makes you noisier. All kinds of stuff that we may not want to be. So we're probably not going to put a point into strength. But between intelligence, int, and dexterity, dex, is a sort of a judgment call we have to make, whether we want to end up casting spells or not. Um, Spells are very powerful in this game, but they require a whole lot of skill points to really be useful beyond the first couple of levels. And then we can go more of a hybrid option where we try and memorize a few low-level utility spells and maybe find a ring of wizardry to make them easier to cast. And in that case, we would focus intelligence and dexterity fairly equally. But we could go a full dexterity route, become really, really good with using bows, and just rely on a good choice of god or, maybe a branded bow early. Brands are special effects that weapons can have. I kind of want to hedge my bets for the late game. Because I'm getting 10 full armor class from my scales, and it's reducing my dexterity, I don't want to invest too heavily in that stat. I would rather invest in intelligence and get the chance of some spells later on. Magic is very, very powerful in Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, especially at the later levels, primarily because it's also very risky. You can run out of mana very easily. You can fail at casting spells. You can be silenced. There are many, many unfortunate things that can befall a caster that cannot befall a melee fighter type or a hunter like us. So that's one reason why I've decided to give this Demonspawn Hunter a shot. Okay, so we've reached our first check. Check is a monster that's harder than pretty much anything else you're going to find on the level. And it checks whether or not you have good enough gear and a high enough level to be around the dungeon. Because one tactic is called diving, where you just dash down the stairs of a whole bunch of floors and hope you don't run into anything too tough, and worship a god early, make your way back up, and then you get extra piety for all of the exploration or the kills you get or the sacrifices you make for the first 4 or 5 or 6 floors that you normally would not count towards a god. And an adder is one of those checks. An adder. It is poisonous, which is mostly dangerous early on. Later on in the game, anything less than the strongest of poisons is a non-threat. But early on, it can be devastating, and we foolishly have been blundering around with our short sword out on dungeon level 2, which is certainly more difficult than the milk run of dungeon 1. But we can still take a half a turn to switch to our bow, and it doesn't get a chance to attack us yet. That's very good. We cannot outrun it because it is fast. It is very fast. Okay, great. So that was one arrow, did quite a bit of damage to it, and it bit us but did no damage. That's a function of our armor class, so maybe our scales helped out there. You know, it struck our leg and bounced off of a calcified section of our heel that mutated. I like the stories that come out of this game. Okay, so we've missed several times in a row, which is really unfortunate. There we go. We got pretty lucky there. That could have been a death, for sure. Yeah, so poison is dangerous early on, but we managed to survive that encounter. As I was saying earlier, if you're not familiar with Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, when you die in this game, you are done, kaput, dead. There is no save game except to set aside the session and come back to the exact same point at one time, at a later point in your life. If you die in this game, you are done. Your character file is permanently transferred to the morgue. There's a wizard mode, but I don't think anybody ever uses that. It takes all the fun out of the game. So caution is imperative in this game. And those of you that are very familiar with this game and are saying, but what about Felids? They have multiple lives. I don't count Felids because they need as many lives as they can get to survive having no armor slots whatsoever. They are very, very difficult to play, even with the recent changes to their leap attack that extended its range, I think, and maybe added some damage to it. They made it pretty good. But, okay, so this is what maybe called... Oh, it's a heart. How sweet. This is what's called a vault. They're little... most of Dungeon Crawl is random. It's just an algorithm that makes up map levels. But every once in a while, it'll insert these little vaults that are hand-designed. So there's going to be probably a bunch of monsters in there, and probably some treasure as well, if we're lucky. So we have 13 arrows. I think that's good enough. I'm greedy. Oh, no, just butterflies. Hey! No, we're not going to attack the butterfly. So that's an altar. If we wanted to, we could pray at this altar. I'll show you what it looks like. Nemelek Zobe. He is the trickster god, and with Nemelex, you train your evocations skill, and you wield these decks of cards, and you just... Nemelex gives you abilities that can stack the deck in your favor, and you get all these really powerful but semi-random effects. But we do not want to worship Nemelex Zoba, because that's kind of a pain. It requires a lot of micromanagement, involving sacrificing items to him of certain types to get the right kinds of decks. Okay, so we are hungry. We're going to eat one of these chunks of flesh that we've been cutting up. We're going to eat a chunk of rat flesh. You can see down here in the inventory, well, you can't see where my mouse is pointing, but there are 2 fresh chunks that I have, but one of them has this little green grossness symbol to it. That means contaminated flesh. It just fills you up less, and so you generally want to eat clean flesh when you can help it. Okay, so we have a a glowing leather armor here. That glowing is called an ego. For weapons, it's brands. For armors, it's ego. This may or may not have an actual ego attached to it once we put it on to test it out. So it could just be like a cursed -1/-1 leather armor. But there's a chance that it could be something cool, like a bonus to our armor class, or a resistance would be incredibly helpful. Poison resistance is what we really, really want. So we're just going to try it on. Yeah, cursed leather armor. So it's not... The only thing curses do in this game is prevent you from removing the item until the curse is removed. And since it's the exact same as the armor that we were using, the only difference for us is that our graphic changes, and we can't take it off for a while. So we encountered a mimic, which disguised themselves with items. They're kind of jerks. But this one was an inept mimic. He was not very good at anything. And so we prevailed. Now that hobgoblin just wandered into a teleport trap. I love those. Monsters cannot necessarily see the traps that you can see. So especially the dumber monsters like hobgoblins will just wander into them and vanish to a different part of the level. You can also step into them if you choose, but the game asks you, do you really want to walk into that teleport trap? And your answer is usually, nope, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to press that direction. Thank you, Dungeon Crawl, for saving my life. That was a little incautious. I just kind of ran into the room instead of approaching it a step at a time and kiting them back out. Kiting is a term for pulling a monster with you away from the room that it's in, and if you're fast enough, doing a little bit of damage to it piece by piece along the way, so that you have won the fight before it begins. Unfortunately, jackals are very fast. Fortunately, they are not very strong. This giant gecko is actually stronger than an individual jackal. The reasons why jackals are dangerous is because they come in packs. See, there's another jackal, so there may be even more in that area. But since it's just one, I can sort of indiscriminately press tab. Yay, our bow skill increased to 5. I'll talk about skills as soon as I chop up this hobgoblin. Both figuratively and literally, as we are going to butcher his corpse and carry it with us. It's contaminated meat, and see, now we have this rat flesh, but it's just a good force of habit to get used to butchering corpses. Oh, see, there is where pressing the tab key is dangerous. I was just trying to hunt down that bat without having to strain my fingers and miss a bunch of turns, running around looking like an idiot, swinging my sword at a bat, blah, blah, blah. But in doing so, I rushed into a room with an adder and took several steps, I think 3 steps, that I did not need to take. And now we're right next to the adder instead of being safely tucked away in that hallway where we could pelt it with arrows from a distance. So we're going to have to pelt it with arrows from right up close. Excellent. We got lucky again. We did not get poisoned. You can be poisoned fatally fairly early. I think we're probably out of the woods because we were level 3 and now we are level 4. Ta-da! And we get another mutation. Our toenails lengthen and sharpen. Scritch, 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 scritch as we walk through the dungeon. That just gives us an auxiliary melee attack. Say those 2 words 5 times fast. It's an extra attack that we do whenever we're attacking with a melee weapon directly next to a monster. Occasionally we will kick them, and our sharp toenails will claw at them. The second level of that mutation lengthens the toenails, and then the third level turns them into claws, and you get a really strong bonus attack. Demonspawn, all Demonspawn get at least 1 mutation of that type. They're called body slot mutations. You can also get hooves, you can get claws on your hands, you can get horns, or you can get antennae. We're going to hack at this worm a few times. Worms are another Let's Play caster described it as worms are the most embarrassing enemy to die to in Dungeon Crawl. Because they are slower than you, so you can always, always, always run away from a worm if you are not yourself slowed. Even Nagas, I believe, the snake people that are the slowest character in the game, or the slowest race in the game, they can outrun worms easily. Only, I believe, followers of Chebriados, the snail god, are slower than worms. And then, if you're following Chi, you are a veteran of the game, hopefully, anyway, because that's a very challenging style of play. But we are not probably going to do that, so instead we will just bash the worm repeatedly, and when it starts to get hairy, we can run away and come back and bash more. This rat is probably fine. Yes. Just butchering everything we come across. We are not yet a follower of a god, let alone a god that requires blood sacrifice like Okawaru or Machleb. Though, if we find an early altar of either of those, I would consider following them. Okawaru is the god of battles, sort of indiscriminately likes fighting things. Oh, and there's an adder in the doorway. This is just one of those unfortunate surprises where we couldn't really have done anything about it, aside from maybe approached it from the other doorway. But not really anything you can do, except pull out your bow and shoot it point blank. Crawl is very kind in that it does not penalize you for wielding a ranged weapon in melee when you're right next to a monster, or when it has a reach-ranged weapon attacking you. It's very kind for us that we don't have to worry too much about sending a bunch of arrows flying into nothing because we can't hit the guy that's right in front of our face. That's never made a lot of sense to me, except, well, it's irrelevant. So you can see it says we're done exploring. That means we've explored the entirety of the level, and we can go down this staircase to the next. Dungeon level 3 is fairly steeply curved up from dungeon level 2. All the dungeon levels tend to be it feels like a non-linear advance of difficulty, and sometimes it just spikes. So that was our first orc. Orcs are not very dangerous individually, but they tend to come in packs. And if you meet well, I was going to say an orc priest or an orc wizard early on, you're in trouble, but instead we are meeting a ghost, the ghost of Wizard, a draconian wizard that I was trying out. I've been experimenting with draconians lately, and I don't exactly mean that in a mad science kind of way, but sort of. Draconians turn into a different color at level 7, and I've been collecting them. Anyway, Wizard is probably not very strong. He's average, which I believe is the lowest rating for ghosts. It still looks extremely dangerous because we are level 4, I believe, and that's not great. It has Magic Dart and Mephitic Cloud. Magic Dart deals damage, Mephitic Cloud confuses you. But I feel like we have a shot. Bows are reasonably strong early on. And if worst comes to worst, we can always flee down those stairs, which I believe we're going to start walking towards. Because ghosts, ooh, yeah, we're taking a risk and not entirely rewarded for it. We may actually die here. Because we have an eye that's paralyzing us, and there we go. Oh, that's not working because I am out of arrows. We very well... nope, survived. Huzzah, hooray. Rewarded for our foolishness. Stair dancing is the term for using stairs to pull monsters up out of range of other monsters. A monster can only follow you up the stairs if it is adjacent to you as you ascend. All the monsters surrounding you get a free hit on you when you ascend or descend, and they may follow you up. Sometimes they don't, and obviously no more will follow you than fit on the tiles surrounding the staircase. So still up to 6 in this case, which is usually deadly at this stage of the game. Equally deadly is being a hunter without arrows. That was a big gamble. I want to have more access to this level to get a little bit of experience, to get some more consumables, maybe find a weapon. This kobold. And this is really why I believe this is going to be... well, we have a shot. I just test quaffed a potion of curing. Oh, and we picked up some arrows somewhere along the way. So, we actually... Yes. Okay, we survive. Thanks in part to the potion of curing. Generally, not always, but generally, the most frequently found potions are potions of curing. So if you're on the first few levels of the dungeon and you have multiples of a particular potion, like a gluggy yellow potion or a fizzy white potion, hooray, level 5, then you can pretty safely test quaff it, especially if it's really your only option with an adder battle. We've had quite a few adders, actually, more than I would have expected. But that's Crawl. Sometimes it's cruel. So you'll see there's Wizard again, and I'm considering giving him another shot now that we're a level higher. We just have a few more hit points. We've bumped up our bow skill a little bit more, though it's still fairly weak. And if we look at it, he still appears extremely dangerous. Well, that's a shame, but we can also duck around the corner. Ah, see, there we go. Yeah, we just needed a few uninterrupted moments against him, and we were fine. Bows increased to level 6. Oh, wow. Lot of points in that. 0.8 skill increase. Skills are interesting in that each level of skill benefits you linearly. You get the same benefit from every single point of a skill, but the difficulty of acquiring skills, the amount of experience needed to get the next rank, increases non-linearly. It's I'm not sure how complicated the progression is as far as algorithms and such. We're going to increase our intelligence again in hopes of finding a spellbook at some point. And we get level 2 of our toenails, so our melee attack, the bonus melee attack we get, our kick will be stronger. So that's kind of nice. I'm really excited about the level 2 mutations. Demonspawn get 1 body mutation, which we have our toenails, and 1 scale slot mutation, which we also have, our rough black scales. Then they get 2 tier 2 mutations, which are a variety of effects that are powerful, quite powerful, and very, very useful early game. Extra resistances for free, extra powerful abilities. And then you get 1 tier 3 mutation, which is a very, very powerful mutation at all 3 of its ranks. They're very, very strong, and if we get an early tier 3, we are good to go probably throughout most of the mid-game. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here before I descend to this next level of the dungeon that we had to dive through, just because this video has gotten fairly long, and I want to give you a little break, dear viewer, and I'll think of some more interesting topics to discuss when we return to Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup.